Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quantum Prosperity and Productivity, the Feminine Way. I'm Kavita Rani Aurora, and I'm your hostess for this series, and I'm an unconventional business strategist and a spiritual catalyst. And I have with me here today a woman who is just brilliant with these topics. And I'm so excited to see what Eugenia has to say to us today about all of this. I've gotten the opportunity to speak to her before, to be interviewed by her. And I know she goes really deep. And she also has a way of taking these very esoteric concepts and making them very practical, easy to understand, digest, and apply. And she's to tell you a little bit more about who she is on a formal level. She's an international conscious wealth, energetics, business, and marketing coach for coaches, healers, and holistic health professionals who desire to fully step into their soul mission and live their purpose through a profitable business. And she creates custom high-end business marketing and energetic strategies. She's a soul strategist and a self-transformation expert with over 2 decades of expertise in spiritual therapy. And she's the best-selling author of 3 books. Welcome, Eugenia. It's so great to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Kavita. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, and it's I'd love to hear, where we've been starting with which I think is just such a fun question. And everyone has beautiful definitions that are slightly different. It's like, we're talking about quantum prosperity and productivity. And some of our listeners are newer to the idea of quantum. So how would you explain the quantum and, what it is and why we want to know it?
Well, it's actually interesting. That question links directly to what I do, which is conscious wealth energetics. The way that I see reality and the way that I work with my clients is that everything in the universe is a wave. And there are many different ways with different amplitude of vibration. It's all frequency, essentially. So you can tell I studied sciences before, physics and stuff. So everything is essentially energy field. And within that energy field, we collapse the potential of the wave by making it into a particle. That's essentially how we make physical reality. So in a sense, you live in an ocean of waves, which is the quantum field. And that quantum field, by our consciousness, becomes particles where we choose to pay attention, put our emphasis onto. So it's called collapse potential in physics, but that's what essentially makes the wave into a particle. So in a quantum sense, the quantum field, it's a unification field that has oneness energy that unites everything. That's the yummy love feeling that we all get when we connect to the divine. And it also has universal intelligence, which from my understanding, and this is how I work with it, is combined intelligence of all species that ever lived and ever will be. So by having access to that, we utilizing the quantum field for whatever our unique purpose is within each lifetime.
Yes, beautiful. I love that explanation. Fabulous explanation. And I study Dr. Joe Dispenza a lot, and he speaks very deeply about these ideas. So I love that you brought this here. It's very important because we tend to think that everything actually is matter, and it's a new concept to a lot of people, that it's a wave, and then it becomes, and then it collapses, and so there's an expansion that happens that can happen inside you when you enter inside the quantum.
Exactly, and for most people that are not familiar with that expanded reality, or simply just don't have sensitivity yet to experience it, it looks like, well, there's emotions, there are thoughts, like some non-tangible things, but pretty much everything else got to be physical, when it's the other way around. There's first consciousness, then there's beliefs and stories and identities as to who we are in our essence. And then out of that come all these things like emotions and thoughts. And all of that is what then collapses reality into matter that we then, live with and play with. So being clairvoyant from birth, I was always having access to that quantum field, to that reality of non-physical. So to me, that was normal. And it took actually some time of growing up to realize, oh my God, people don't actually know this. This is not a common way of thinking, because I see energy, I see different dimensions, and I have access in my consciousness to different knowledge. So I always thought that this was a common thing. And I think when I was like 5 years old or something, I realized that that is not a common thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing about people like you who just came in wise. You know, you're clearly a very old soul, and you knew things from birth that I'm just realizing, you know, in the past 10 years. And
well, yeah, and I think that actually we all know those things. So I kind of I don't want to make myself into a unicorn here, like, oh, how special I am, because I am special only in the fact that I had it activated from the beginning. But really, we do all have access to it. And that's actually part of, what I teach, is how each person has their own unique way. Everybody thinks like, oh, well, if I just meditate, I will have access to the divine. And it's one way. There's so many ways. I'm sure, Kavita, you're using many different ways yourself, right? That is not just one specific thing, and then you have access in your own unique way.
yes, beautiful. So let's talk about this a little more. Let's dig into this unique way, because I think it's particularly important right now, when in time of pandemic and all these crazy energies. I think there's a lot of collapsing going on. And one of the reasons that I wanted to bring this series at this time is, I want to help people to expand, to really not to be more wave than particle. And so, Eugenia, you mentioned each person has their unique way, or several different ways, or many ways. So, imagine I'm a listener now, and I'm listening here, and I'm confused. I'm feeling down about all the, I'm feeling collapsed. What would you say, would be the first step for someone who's listening and feeling collapsed?
I would say the first step would be to create a little bit of a distance from wherever you're feeling, and instead focus on, what do I want my reality to be instead of what it is in my experience. So that's not to avoid what is, but to imagine what is the vision here. Because really, when you don't know where you're going to get to, or where you're going, how you ever going to get there. This is one thing I see so much with women entrepreneurs especially, is that they focus so much on what they don't like and what they don't want, instead of what are you actually desiring, what's your bigger vision. Because if we don't know that, we energetically loop back. That's the conscious energetics that I work with. We keep looping back into the energy patterns that are familiar to us. And familiar patterns tend to be miserable, negative, heavy. And those emotions are habitual, kind of ingrained in our brain patterns. We got onto that train track, and then if we keep getting triggered, we keep getting onto that train track unless we apply consciousness. Consciousness takes effort. So the first effort here is not necessarily really hard. It's actually fun. It's to imagine, what do I want my life to be? How do I want to feel? Not necessarily all the details, like I want a car, house, and 200 clients. But I want right now, when I'm feeling sad or scared or depressed, to feel different. What would be that different feeling? Maybe I want to feel like I matter. Maybe I want to feel like something I do has a purpose. Maybe I don't know what the purpose is, but I want to feel that it does. Maybe I want to feel a little bit more open because I'm feeling constricted. So sort of look for the feeling that would be an opposite than the one you're feeling. And focus more from the standpoint of your body and close presence instead of conceptualizing. Let's say if you feel trapped, then the opposite of that would not be, I want to feel like I'm super successful. Instead, the opposite would actually be more like, I want to feel like I have room to breathe, I have space for myself, the opposite of trapped, right? So look for more actual energy dynamics that counteract the feeling you're having. That's the first step in opening up, because when we try to envision anything from the place of depression or entrapment or misery, we can't get there. Our energy is already on the path that is negative. So instead, we first need to correct the foundational access point. And that's the conscious energetics of creation, essentially. You correct where you're starting from, Now you can do the bigger vision and whatever, because your frequency is already harmonized a little bit more. You already corrected the initial problem. And when we don't do that step, and we kind of try to go from the miserable place to some imagined fantasy of awesome, it never works because there's no bridge. You can't bridge that to this. But if we go from feeling bad or confused or lost into how do I want to feel instead, and let's say I correct this in a more private, sort of intimate way within me, not some big thing, but just me within me. Now I have more inspiration. Now something starts to come from within, and that's actually access to the quantum field, because that's where it starts to be born from the inside. And it's not your mind now that's saying, I want a car, house, and 20 clients. It's now your soul saying, oh, I would like to serve in this way, or I would like to create this offer. And that's how we actually get inspired in a true sense.
Wonderful. Yeah. Beautiful. I love the way you described that. And then how does this, so you're talking about conscious energetics here. We've talked a little bit about the quantum and how does this all relate to wealth? And how do you use the quantum to bring the wealth in? I mean, this is a topic.
What an awesome question. Yeah, well, in the way, the way that we think of quantum field or oneness or universal intelligence, those energies are always in abundance, because they can't be in scarcity, because it's the universe, right? The universe got everything there is. It's all one universe. It's all one God. It's all oneness. So from that standpoint, we give it different compartments, and we label this from this angle, this from that angle, but it's really all one. So the big universal oneness quantum field is always and forever in abundance. And abundance means there's more than enough of anything. 100% possible, 100% of the time, anything. Just think about that. 100% possible, 100% of the time. That's how much we actually determine what's going to happen to us by our choice. But everything is available. We kind of get into that tunnel vision that's only a little bit is available. Well, actually, everything is available. So that's the abundance part. Now, abundance can translate into harmony within one person, and so internally. It can also translate into state of health. You know, that's also abundance, being able to regenerate freely and maintain your body in a very balanced way. Abundance can also be seen as well-being, state of internal joy and happiness that just kind of bubbles up on the inside and you feel cheerful. That doesn't mean that you don't have negative emotions, but parallel to that, you also kind of have joy, sense of humor, view of reality from a different perspective. But another component to all of that is wealth in a more materialistic sense, right? All of this is wealth. Abundance is wealth. We are wealthy in how healthy we are, in how our emotions flow, in what kind of connections, relationships we attract. We are wealthy in how much money we make. All of this is wealth. So conscious wealth energetics, it's essentially bringing that abundance into your life and your business. And of course, because I focus also on literally business strategy and marketing, and we're also translating it like how to make more money in a literal sense. But money is just one part of it. So when people kind of think of wealth as money, it's a very limited perspective. Wealth is everything, and money is a component of wealth, which of course we want if we having a business, but that's how it is linked to the quantum field. Quantum field and your money is essentially the same thing. Money comes from the quantum field to you, and if you are in the correct alignment and doing specific, correct energy things within yourself, which includes things like your mindset, which includes things like your aligned action and so on, all of that together is what then pulls from the quantum field whatever you want, 100% possible. So if you want, let's say, money, you can pull that in as well. That's what wealth energetics are.
Beautiful. I love that. And so it's such a deep explanation, so comprehensive, because I love the way you defined abundance on so many different levels. And then you took it to, then a lot of them were more like the wave. And then you took it more, you took it to the particle form of money. And, so it was interesting to experience that as you did it.
Yeah, and it always goes like this. So if we allow ourselves to constantly go in and out of matter reality, that's how actually we create. That's part of what I train my clients to do, because I've been doing it kind of like since I was born. It's natural to me. Yeah. So most people, they stay on one polarity or the other. They either stay with 3D and everything is materialistic, or they go into 5D, but it becomes escapism. They're trying to just avoid and go away into some la la land where everything is perfect, but you can't have business like that, obviously. So the key is to marry the two.
Yes, totally. I really I deeply resonate with everything you're saying. It's so perfect for the series too, because it really, what I wanted to talk about right here is what you're honing in on, because it is, people do get lost in one or the other. And I believe, like I heard you mention, you know, the business strategies that you do focus on, but I also I know you also talk about how that's not enough to get yourself to 6 figures, right? So tell us about that, because, you know, and a lot of people focus only on the strategies, only on the 3D, and don't focus on the 5D. And then they keep, like, it's like they keep, matter keeps bumping into matter, and then they can't get to where they want to get to. Or even right now, like with all the heaviness of the energies, with all the change going on, there's also a lot of light energies coming through. With all the heaviness, it also contracts, right? So
Right. You know, one of the things about the strategy is, first of all, there are many strategies out there, and the proven ones, the ones that other people made work, they actually do work. But they don't work for everybody. And it doesn't mean that we have to do every single strategy. We have to actually know which strategies work with our own system, which is where knowledge of yourself kind of comes into play. But to answer your question here as to why it's not enough, it's because strategy is an electric energy. It's a directional thing. It goes from point A to point B in a direct line. Like how to get there is step 1, step 2, step 3, and then you arrive at whatever your final destination is. That's how strategies work. They absolutely required if you want to run a business in a material plane of existence. But they can only get you so far because they are linear. They're not the wave pattern. They don't have necessarily the access to everything. They, by definition, limit the access to create a tunnel in order to get somewhere. So that is a required component of creating in matter. But you know, the way I look at it is, it's a combination of direct line strategy, then stop and open up to everything, and then see from there, where is the course correction? Do you even want the same thing you've been going at here? And then the next little strategy and the next one. So speaking of the 6-figure mark, because this is the popular topic, everybody seems to come back to that spot over and over. What I've seen is that it's possible to get on strategy almost alone to 6 figures by just working really hard and practically burning out and just pushing and pushing it with everything you got. Yes, it's possible. I've seen people do it all the time.
I totally pushed and burned out.
Yeah,
so,
right. And that's my thing, is that, like, how do you get to multiple 6 figures or beyond without burnout or self-sacrifice? Because the way most people get to that 6-figure mark, and I'm not saying everybody, but most, is by, like what you're saying, Kavita, it's just pushing, making it happen, using all your willpower and determination, and awesome, you get there. And then you burn out and you're done. Like, you can't maintain it, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So to actually go beyond that 6-figure mark, which is 8,000 to 10,000 a month, to something where it's stable 10,000 and 12,000 and 15 and 20 and 30 and 40 and so on, you need to have a different strategy, because that linear strategy isn't gonna get you there. It's gonna kill you eventually, because you can't do more of the same thing that already you barely can maintain. So sustainability is part of the quantum field. It's sustainable because it's self-regenerating. So unless we as business owners, especially women, because we're so open to emotions, are connected to that sustainability component, we're not going to be able to move past something, because we're trying to do it on the more masculine electric charge of just pushing and getting. Once you did enough of that, you can't keep going on that. That's not sustainable. So to make something sustainable, the other side is needed. And the other side is why I call myself soul strategist. It's a soul and a strategy. So the strategy part is self-explanatory, but the soul part, that's customizing the strategy to the uniqueness of each person. For example, like marketing strategies I make for people, we kind of co-create what works. When you think of like, okay, I should do this, that's already linear strategy. But then if you open into what would I like to do? What would be fun to do? What is sustainable for me to do on and on and on every day and not feel bad about it, not feel tired from it? Okay, we just found something you can do. Then, of course, the work comes in as to how to integrate it into business to make it work for your business. But it's still that conscious energy component that's essentially linking to your soul purpose, your soul mission, your unique soul expertise as to who you actually are, what you're actually bringing, not just like the basics of, well, I'm good at this, but what is the bigger picture here, and then how that can be landed into, like from your words, Kavita, from 5D to 3D, how can that be landed into material reality? But now it becomes sustainable. So that's what then can take the person from the kind of more generic strategy of up to 6 figures to a more unique, customized way that works for that person, where you actually letting go of a lot of things instead of adding on more. And choosing to do only very specific things in a very specific way that then upgrade your whole business and the level of service, because the frequency goes up with that, which means what you're offering then is of a much higher level sort of to your clients and your audience in general.
Yes, that I love it. It's really well said, and it so deeply resonates, because when you're choosing something that is not from the external authority of this is how this person says I should do it, or this is what this person says I should focus on, it's going more to the inner authority, connecting with your soul and getting the guidance. You're helping people tap into that guidance, and then it's coming forth. There's an expression that's coming forth. Then there's less time wasted on all this extraneous stuff of like, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this, and then there's an anxiety, and you know, and instead there's like this. Then there's another place that you're coming from that is calm, that is, you know, that is there's an emanation. It's magnetic because it is what you are uniquely meant to offer. And it's so then when you put it forth in the world and you focus only on a few things that you enjoy, then you're actually receiving energy from the activities you're doing. So instead of depleting, it's replenishing you, and you can then continue to rise with a lot more.
Exactly. And that's actually a really good component you just brought up about the replenishment part, because that's the sustainability of the quantum field. When we are able to maintain something continuously, that's only possible if we are living our destiny, if we're actually doing what we're meant to do. As soon as we start doing something we think we should, it doesn't work. That's why I always tell people, whoever you pick as your coach or a teacher or a mentor, be very careful that they're not just going to give you a cookie cutter strategy that they themselves figure out works and then now just going to teach you like how to do it. That's awesome if you're just starting because you need something. But once you're actually at the much higher level in your business, what you need is somebody who's going to help you be more you, not somebody who's just going to tell you like do something this way. And yes, of course, the coach should have like access to different library of strategies to help you choose, but not necessarily give you like do this, but more like work with you to coax you out, to help you figure out what is this unique thing about you that would work so that you have access to that quantum field of 100% possible 100% of the time for you.
I love it. Awesome. Yes, that's such a so well said as always. And and I know you have a beautiful way to go deeper with you, because I'm sure people are very excited to learn more about how to create the conscious wealth energetics in their life. So can you share with us about this wonderful gift that you have for us?
Yeah, the gift that I have for this audience is a guide of conscious wealth energetics, essentially. It will show you how you can apply it onto your life and start the steps that take you onto the process that Kavita and I were just talking about, essentially. So it's how to set your energy correctly for this 6-figure plus business, to reach more higher end clients, to feel fulfilled and joyful, and to do so without burnout or self-sacrifice. So that's what the guide is about. And it's actually a very practical ebook. It's long, and it's not one of those freebies that you just kind of get and it's like 3-page and yeah, okay. This is literally like a workbook for you to go deep with yourself. So it took me forever to create, and it's sort of the foundational piece of what I do. So it will give you a beginning of understanding what that means for you, like everything we were talking about, the uniqueness, the special way. So you would read through parts of the ebook, and then there's portions when you actually have to answer questions, like you have to participate. So then you fill out those portions, and I really invite you to do the work. Don't just skip through it like, yeah, it's interesting, but actually apply it by answering questions, because you will start to see something emerging. There's a reason why the way that mini chapters are positioned and they're one after another, it's a sequence. I mean, I'm a strategist, right? So everything is always in a sequence, but it's in a sequence for your benefit. So go through it from literally beginning to an end. Give yourself that, 20 minutes or half an hour to read through it and actually answer questions, so that by the time you get to an end, you will start to notice like, oh, that's what is off, because it's showing you conscious energetics for you, and you can see where the correction is needing to happen. So it's actually a really good foundation to begin self-correction, to get you to that place when you don't have to burn out, when you don't have to sacrifice, when you can actually set your energy correctly for attraction, that magnetic attraction we were talking about, of whatever it is that you desire.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Yeah. And for anyone who is wanting to grab this wonderful resource, there's a link right below this video. And thank you so much for sharing your generous knowledge and your amazing perspective and wisdom. And I'm wondering, is there anything you would like to leave us with today?
One thing I would love to kind of leave the audience with here is that if you are at the place where you got yourself to the 6-figure mark and you're looking like, how do I stay there and go beyond? One thing that you need to do is really master your focus, master what you're paying attention to. So in my ebook that you guys gonna get, there is some explanation of that further, but just to make a point of it is that when we focus on whatever it is we focus, we must do so from that quantum field abundance, so that whatever our statements are, our desires, our thought patterns, our emotions, they are propelling us forward instead of focusing on the negative of what we don't have, because the universe doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. So if we give it correct frequency, we'll start to get the answers that we actually would like to get.
Yeah. I love that. That is such a brilliant way to close, because it's focus is, especially with the craziness that is going on and everything that is falling apart and the uncertainty, it can be so hard for people to focus. It can be so hard it's just so easy to feel distracted and scattered. So
which is also a type of focus, by the way. It's just the focus on dispersion instead of on what are you actually desiring.
I love it. You're so smart.
Oh, thank you. You too. I love talking with you, Kavita. It's always so much fun. We have such an incredible depth of our conversation that flows so naturally. So thank you so much for having me here.
We could just go on for hours and hours. It would be so much fun. And we will someday. But not today. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this time with Eugenia as much as I did. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.